All right. And we'll see if anybody else joins us along the way. And okay, hi, welcome to today's day 21 of the One Word Magic Project that I did on the Facebook group, inspired by Dr. Nick and Professor Mike. And maybe we're going to reintroduce you, and I'm going to let you introduce yourselves. And because, a lot of people may see this that didn't see the first one word, when we started the project. But I do know that the video got substantial views, is what I've seen on YouTube. So it had had a lot of views.
Cool.
And so, yeah. So, thank you for being here today. And you want to
Mhm.
kick us off and tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then we'll talk about how we got into this and what's next and our experiences.
Sounds good, Ellie. Wonderful.
Yeah,
Thanks so much for having us.
yeah,
Yeah,
really. Thank you.
yeah. It's Dr.
Thanks for
Nick,
being here. Yeah.
uh, Dr. Nick, and Professor Mike. Hey, the dream team. We're known. And this is so cool. When we talked, a couple weeks ago, several weeks ago, we talked about one magic word and what that is,
Hmm.
the history and the science. And then you took it another step, which was so cool and creative in doing an experiment, doing the experience with it. And Michael and I, we developed one magic word, and we have a book on it and a course, et cetera, et cetera. But the bottom line is we share this tool freely with everyone all the time because it's so effective. The hue, I'll give you a demo. We'll give you a little background, a little more about us and about the word. But let's jump right into the word. The word is hue. Hue, one magic word. The demo, you inhale and hue on the exhale. The cool thing, user friendly,
Hmm.
out loud or silent, eyes open or closed. So
Mm.
could be in the shower or a business meeting or while you're doing the dishes. Talk about, user friendly and yeah. So the history of the hue goes all the way back. We traced it in our research, Ellie, all the way back to Egypt 5,000 years ago.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
at the Sphinx, they used to hew from dusk
mhm,
until dawn as a society to up
mhm.
the consciousness. So, way back then they used to use one
Yeah,
magic
yeah.
word. And then bringing it up to modern day, we found it in 14 different religions and
Mhm, mhm,
the book, the Kabbalah and the Quran and the Masons, all the way
mhm.
to modern day Eckankar, the path
Yes.
of
Mhm,
spiritual freedom
Hmm.
recognizes
mhm,
you. So it's got quite a history. And then the source is the word human. Ellie, it comes from the word human. In the
mhm,
dictionary, human, God within man. We all have the spark within us, that vibration that carries the essence. So you want to add some things, Michael?
Yeah. Why is it so powerful? Why is it so different from the Om and a lot of other things? And I've tried all those. I studied with the Sikhs and the Buddhists and grew up Catholic, studied with the Jesuits for 4 years, learned Latin. I've been down every path possible on this earth. And I always take a step in another direction because I hit the wall and they don't really have the ultimate truth for me. And I even asked the Jesuits, I remember, because if you open the Bible to John 1:1, in the beginning was the word was with,
mhm,
God, and the word was God. And I'm
mhm.
thinking, that word is God? What? Oh, wow. If I had that word, my life would change. And so I asked them, they had no idea what that was. These guys all had 2 PhDs and beyond, and they spoke 5 languages. So I went in search of it. And, we eventually found, like Nick has already covered it. We found it in 14 in the Quran and the Vedas and even the Druids. We ran into a Druid in New York, and the Druid was on the camera crew. We were shooting a film, and the Druid came in and said, "God, I love the hue. I haven't heard it in a long time." And I said, "What spiritual background?" And he said, "Druid." I said, "The
Mm.
Druid I've ever known on the earth."
I've never met anybody, yeah, practicing.
And so kind of to summarize it, when we have this word hue, too simple, and it's so simple. It's a vibrational toning technique that really retunes us from the inside out. And in that sense, we need nothing else. We don't need the experts and the doctors and the clinicians, and we really don't. We when we say, "Wow, how do I know? How do I know whether that's the path I should follow and invest in this stock? That my soulmate." All we need to do is hew for a few minutes and just remain silent, and the answers are already within us. We are the system that the hue is vibrating through, that comes in through. It's a mechanical thing, it's quantum physics, and it retunes us, and we have the answers already there. As soon as I ask the question before I finish, boom, the answer's already there if I just listen and be quiet for a minute. So when we have the hue, we have it all. So that's why it's so powerful. And I've never ever I've shared it with, we've shared it with I don't know how many people, thousands or millions, and it's never not worked. And if it hasn't not worked, there's usually a pretty solid reason for it. Like they said they tried it, but they didn't really try it, or they didn't remain silent and listen to the answer coming in, something like that. But hey, um, that's why, and it reboots our original operating system. We're it, literally, because every day people say, Mike, how do I know? How do I know? How do I know? And I say, you really want to know? Are you ready for the truth? Can you handle the truth? They always laugh and go, oh, Mike, I can handle the truth. Really? Look in the mirror. You are the truth. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's a big one, because then people go, oh, hell, I don't want to be the truth, because then I'm responsible for my life and and it's like, that's it. That's the hue. It brings it and it retunes us and turns us on. And in that sense, we become, mini gods. Because we've got the powers. We were given originally the power within
That's right.
us
That's
from
right.
the source. So use them. That's all. And that's our message. That's what we teach. That's why we teach the hue.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. So remember when we were on the call, then that I had a physical response when you first went oh, and that's another question people ask me. I'll go back to that in a minute. And I remember having that physical response to it. So then I did my own research. I looked everything up as far as I could, and then I also learned, just to add on, that it has a very significant effect on the vagus nerve,
Mhm.
and that yeah, I didn't think about that. And one of my friends said to me, that is a very powerful word in the vagus nerve, and it's a sound compared to the other sounds. Some of the sounds do affect the vagus nerve. However, the sound of you affects it even more powerfully than the om and the other mantras. Okay. So I thought that was very interesting also. And so then, I mean, I had my own experiences of doing this. And one of my friends and I were going to go down to the institute in New York, the Eckankar. Is that that's right?
Right.
So they have a place in Manhattan, and we were going to go down there just to check it out. However, we didn't make it, and what we did learn, though, from them is that they suggest doing it for 12 minutes. So that reminded me, of course, of the 12. We could get back into the Bible with the 12, the symbolic 12. And then I go to Nikola Tesla, his fascination with 3, 6, 9. Obviously, 12 is a combination of that, 3. And so one day, this was one of my stories. One day, I decided that I was going to do a 12-minute long U. And as I told one of my friends, it doesn't matter what octave it's in. For you, your octave is way higher than mine. I don't think I could even you at the octave that you just used. And so I was doing my own you, right? And I do it long. I do it like I take a deep breath in and a really long breath out. And I'm telling you, After 12 minutes, I felt as if I was having an out of body experience. So I saw myself from above looking down at what I was doing. And if that's not, okay, it's not a big super out of body, but it is enough of an out of body experience to see myself doing down there, you and see it was like I felt like I was floating around. And then I said, oh, okay, that was very interesting. I have not been able to repeat that. And I intentionally use 3 times a day. The first time that I use is in the morning when I first get up. The first thing that I do is but I chose to do it a little differently. I've been playing around with this, right? So
Mhm.
I've been getting up at the before the sun rises. So then I'll go outside. I'll take a blanket because it's chilly where I am, and then I start viewing as the sun comes up. And it is just it's a very empowering experience alone, just from viewing, from being awake when the sun rises, setting an intention, creating my day. So it's very powerful to me. And I then go and then at noontime, I will hue again. It energizes me, as we know, then the vagus nerve, we get energy. It changes around the balance for me, right? In terms of my, the vagus nerve makes us feel better, right? Serotonin, dopamine, right? All of those, oxytocin, everything gets released. So then I have more energy. And then before I go to bed, before sleep, I'm actually in bed and then I you. And maybe you've got an answer for this because I don't. And I have had another one of my friends share a very similar story. I will sleep it started with 8 hours uninterrupted. Then it went to 9 hours uninterrupted. Then it went to 10 hours uninterrupted. Then it hit 11 hours uninterrupted, deep, deep sleep. Now I'm back down to 8 to 9 hours of deep sleep. I don't wake up.
Mhm.
And I don't have an answer for it. The only thing that's really changed in my life is that I have viewed for 3 weeks now, consistently.
Mm.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah,
And I
yeah.
was like, okay, what's going on here?
All right, here we go. Soul traveling. When we sleep, and it's been said throughout. St. Paul spoke of it, dying daily. When you sleep, you dream. When you dream, you leave
Oh,
the
do I
body.
dream? Do I dream? I've been writing them down.
Oh, good, good, good,
Yeah.
good, good. Yeah, that's a whole nother call, a whole nother
Right?
show.
No.
But soul traveling, and we go to spiritual temples and places of learning. So the fact that you are sleeping so much, which is really just the outer manifestation of what's going on inwardly, so the physical shuts down so you can go travel and learn and study and gain more of your infinite wisdom, as you already are in those higher realms. So that's really what's going on when we sleep. So for you to be sleeping that long, and I commented on the Facebook
Yeah.
page today about that. I said soul traveling, da, 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 da. So
Oh, I haven't seen it yet. I'll go look.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Just within the hour. So just outstanding. I know you're wanting
Yeah.
to say something here.
Yeah, we've run. You can imagine today how many people suffer from sleeplessness. They can't sleep at all.
True.
I used to work with a guy at a college, and every day he came in. He said, "I haven't slept in Mike 2 or 3 months." And I said, "If you really hadn't, you'd be dead. Don't. I'm tired of hearing your stories." So I shared the hue with him finally, and I said, "That'll work for you. Just try it." And he went home, and that night, he tried the hue, and then like for 5 minutes, and then he thought that's not working. He opened his eyes, and like 7 hours had passed on his alarm. So he came in to tell me the story, and it always works because the reason you are sleeping so much, we don't sleep because of anxiety, because of nightmares. I could go on and on. The usual depression and all those tents, our inner bodies, our astral body, our physical body, causal body, mental body. We have all these that the energy comes in through and then shifts down to us. they're all slightly out of alignment, hence overwhelming anxiety. I try to sleep, and in 45 minutes, I wake up again and I got to get up and walk around. So, what happened? You got harmonized. And when you do, that allows that physical body to reset, to reboot, and to stay asleep for 7, 8, 9, 10 hours. It really takes care of the sleeplessness. And like Nicole said, then we can really step into that inner body and experience other things on other planes, other dimensions through, soul travel.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Major, you're doing such, and you already know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but you're doing such good works on the outer, and then the inner has just been amplified, and as a represented by the sleep, and it's just like, you go, girl, and
Yeah.
that's what happens. Even
Yeah.
I've had people show me their sleep data, They send me the sleep data, and it's just off the charts. Yeah. So, and yeah, you mentioned the vagus nerve. I'm so glad you did, because we didn't mention it last time, but that's part of our data. And yes, like huge. There's just not anything that the hue doesn't add to.
Yeah.
12, you did good with 12, because we don't go into it a lot because there's so much knowledge, books and written on it. And Tesla knew about it. He said, if you want to know the mysteries of the universe, try vibrations. You'll discover all of it. And he nailed that. But the 12, everything is in cycles. Everything's in cycles, 3, 6, 9. 12's a major cycle. And then 24, 36, all the way up to 60. And even if you look at like what's going on now with climate change and how long it's been, the ignorance is overwhelming. I don't even watch or listen to it. Any article on it, I just turn it off immediately, because they're numb and dumb, and they're trying to say, well, we can the cycles. It's been 12,500 years since a major cycles hit our planet.
True.
Where the poles shift and all that's going on in the background. And when you hit at 12, you're working with the cycles. And when you work with the cycles, things just flow. They just flow. If we know what the cycle is for us as we feel it, that 12 will always work in terms of taking us to the next level, because it's a major cycle. You did good with that one.
And then I wanted to share. We have 2 people that are here live. Before I start sharing the other people's that are not here, their stories, Susan and Ginger, welcome to the call. And we would love to hear your experiences. You've been with us since day one on this 21-day journey. You were with us on that call. I started the call on October 1st. I had that call on October 1st, I believe it was when I started. Right, we spoke in the morning, and then I think or maybe I'm not. No, October 6th. So I just started on October 6th, and anyway, Ginger and Susan, would you like to share?
Hi.
Oh, okay,
I'm
great.
Susan.
Hi.
I'm having a little technical difficulty. I'm outside watching the sunrise at the same time we're doing this.
Oh,
I'm in
cool.
California. Yeah. Ginger introduced me to hewing, and my friend Ginger, she introduced me to your program. And so I started hewing, and I thought it was so calming. That's what I found. It was very calming to my system. And I tend to have anxiety. So I was really thrilled with it, and I do it. And I taught it I have a client who had a traumatic brain injury, and I taught it to her excuse me, I taught it to her the other day, and she wants to teach it to all of her friends who have aphasia. She has aphasia. And she found it very calming too, which I thought was just absolutely wonderful. And anyway, that's my story. I haven't had any mystical experiences. I just found it wonderful.
Wow.
Uh,
Dr.
yeah,
Nick, you
Susan.
want to say something about that? Ginger, yeah?
Yeah, Susan and I, we're here in Southern California, in Long Beach, and I started hewing on the beach, and then I swim a lot, and Susan taught me to hum. She said, hum when you swim, and it'll settle down your nervous system. So I'd been humming. It's a little hard to you in the water because you have to open your mouth underwater, but I've been doing both. I was already sleeping 10 hours a night. But I love the sleep story, but I've been doing some other things on my central nervous system with a chiropractor. So I get the vagus nerve and the fascia and the dura, all that runs down the spine. I also have scoliosis, so I've been working on that with this doctor. So I think the hewing kind of travels down the central nervous system, the spine, the dura, the fascia, and it syncs everything up. So for me, it's just like Susan said, just peaceful. It's just you go right into peace.
Mhm.
And I love, Ellie, that you're doing it 3 times a day. My hats off to you. That's awesome. I need to do that. So that's great.
Thank you. Um, I just do it when I started making a note of it, right? And thank you for sharing your stories. These are really powerful stories, especially, really because it's been so quiet on the Facebook group that who knew that these really powerful stories are happening and that you've been sharing the work. So thank you so much for all of this and making a difference for yourselves and other people. I'm so excited about that. Yeah. I just got into the habit of doing it in the afternoon because I had a reason. I need to go babysit for my grandchildren. And so I finished work and then it's like, oh, I gotta go do something because it's either that or nap, and there's no time to nap. All right. So, and why would I nap after sleeping 10 hours, right? So I just start viewing and then I prepare myself and we have some fun. Oh, I
Oh,
told,
I do have one more
yes, go, go,
story.
go. Yes. Mhm.
When you talked about the baby, I have a great nephew that I babysit on Thursdays, and my niece comes over and she works, and I take care of him. He's like 9 months older, and one day my nephew came over, and he was getting fussy and he needed to go down, so I started rocking him and I started hewing, and they had the camera on, so they can watch him, but I guess they heard me hewing and they were like falling asleep they're trying to work at their computers, and they're like, and the baby went down, and I put them down too.
That is
My niece and nephew, by just hewing through the little baby monitor. They heard me. Is that
well, that is
crazy?
no, it's awesome. I love that. I just love that. Yeah.
Sorry, I just
You
remembered that story. Sorry.
Yeah.
I
No,
jumped
don't be
in.
sorry. Please. These are important contributions. Thank you for that, Ginger.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was going to share with you also that my daughter-in-law lost her cell phone, and we were out gathering sticks and twigs for building a fairy house. And so during that time, my grandson, the older one, got a little frightened for his mom. He was picking up on her quote unquote anxiety. And so I pulled him aside and I said, we're going to hew. And so we're just going to start hewing. And then we did the hewing. And then later on, we still hadn't found the phone, but it calmed him down. Then when we got to the house and she had the find your phone app working now, which it wasn't before. So she kind of knew where the location was, but she couldn't reach anybody. So I said to my grandson, I manifest a lot of things through ordaining. So I taught my grandson how to ordain at that moment in time, combined with Ewing. And I had called my daughter-in-law's number 12 times. And then I said to my grandson, okay, now that we've ordained, we're going to get the phone back now. Watch. So I called the number for the 13th time, and some woman answered and said, oh, I have your phone. Like, duh. Okay. So, so, so my son went over, picked up the phone, and, everybody was happy. And they said, oh, wow, look at this. Look what grandma did. I said, no, look what we did. We did this together. It's not us. It's collective. It's the sound. It's the intention. Mhm.
Mhm.
wow, dig that. What a cool story.
Yeah, you got to put it into practical use, right? It needs to
Yeah,
become practical.
Yes.
absolutely.
That's a great point, actually. The practicality of it. It's it's here, and I try to use it every day. You know, you're doing it 3 times a day. We're called the Hue people, and I think you're doing it more than we are, Ellie.
Because you forget to you it. It's what happens, you know? It turns.
You can be the Hue Scooby-Doo person. All right. But it's God, which is the representative of the sound, the force, let's call it the force, is coming through with the hue. And it's so powerful that it's every day. I can use it for when I'm driving, because everybody doesn't know how to drive and they're asleep at the wheel because they're looking at their phone. And it's like, normally I would be pretty angry and out screaming, hey, oh. But instead, I use the hue to put me back into a state of really neutrality and calm and feeling that inwardly. And you can use it for anything. It's short story because you're talking about kids we met with my daughter this weekend. We haven't seen her in a little bit up in Minneapolis, and she mentioned it because when she was 3 years old, we had built a house out in the country in Texas outside of Austin, and where I built it, unfortunately, there were a lot of scorpions that lived in the area underneath the soil and stuff. I mean, a lot, probably millions.
Yikes.
So no matter what I did to try to stop the scorpions, they kept coming back in. And she would wake up at like 3 a.m. I'd hear her crying. I'd go down, and a scorpion had stung her. And this went on for a month. Scorpions every other night, so I get the scorpion off of her. She'd be okay. I mean, she got kind of used to it. So, and I'm thinking, what can I do? I mean, I've tried everything with the toxins and everything else.
This is 40 years ago, mind you.
Right.
Finally, that little inner voice said, Hue. And I said, what? So I talked to her about it. And my daughter, at 3 at the time, I said, we're going to, wrap your bed when you go to sleep. We're going to wrap it in white light. Imagine in your imagination, it's wrapped in white light. And we're going to hue for a couple of minutes, and that's going to energize that white light. And so she knew the hue, so we would hue, and I said, now you're protected. And we called it a scorpion wall for protection. Not another scorpion ever bit her again, ever got on her again. I mean, it was mentioned it. I mean, she's like, whatever now, 42 or something.
Wow.
And I still use it, wrapping myself to protect myself from other things, and it always works. So it's like everyday stuff. We can use it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have one more story now that we're talking about parking and driving. So I use it when I live in New York, and parking is a problem. I'm sure it's a problem in many other cities also. It is a problem in New York. So I'm going to make the story short. I needed parking. And so I started viewing 5 minutes out from my destination, and I just kept going and going and going. And then I found a spot. This is like, if you knew like the chances on this, when it's almost like winning a lottery or something, I found a spot right in front of my destination, door to door. And this was important for me also because I had just come off from having my boot removed from breaking my foot. So I couldn't really be doing all this walking. So it was just perfect. So then after that destination, we needed to go somewhere else, loaded the car up with the family, went to our next destination. Again, right in front of where we needed to be. There was the spot. And all I could say is, okay, I was just viewing it into manifestation, viewing it into existence, and calming myself by doing. Whereas, as opposed to that self-talk, where the self-talk is, oh, I'm never going to find a spot here. This is where we go. Like, oh, we're going to that negative, right? Oh, I'm not going to find a spot. It's going to be so crowded. Where am I going to park? I have to drop the car off at a garage, blah, 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 all of, that. And I just kept going. Nothing. I set the intention. I'm going to park right in front of the spot, the place. And all I did was as opposed to all the other self-talk that usually happens, right?
Yeah. Nice story there. Nice experience, not a story, an experience.
Yeah, these have been great experiences. So I want to share a little bit about some of the experiences that people have come back to tell me about. One of them was, again, the sleeping, same thing, sleeping many, many hours and then being concerned that, oh, well, what if I'm sick? I said, you're not sick. So don't even put that out there. Your body just, there's something going on. I didn't have an explanation for it. And I just said, I'm sleeping, you're sleeping, this is good. You are not, do you feel energized during the day? And her response was absolutely. So then you're healthy and that's fine. And this is working for you. And then so there were some other experiences that people had put into the Facebook group, which I do not recall right now. But I do want to share about the people, because you know how we remember the quote unquote, the negative sticks with us and the positive kind of goes away, right? So I do want to share that the people who reported that they've been viewing and nothing happened. And so this leads me into expectation. So perhaps, and I'm just going to say this, I may be responsible for the fact that they had accelerated or higher expectations since I was reporting experiences. And if I'm reporting experiences, for example, I'm having an out of body, or I'm finding parking spots, or I'm finding lost objects, or whatever it is, right? And then other people who are not having those kind of experiences perhaps believe that nothing is happening, and then they stop doing it regularly. I do believe if you practice it regularly, ongoingly, at least once a day, you will, and you stay in tune and in touch with yourself and your experiences. A lot of people sleep during the day. So even if something were to happen that might be a little bit out of the ordinary, if they're not paying attention to that, they're going to let it go. They're going to not see it. Something really big has to happen for some people to like say, oh, wow, right? It has to be an aha. And yet with Ewing, nothing has to be an aha. We just need to be aware of even the subtle changes. Oh, okay. I got one more. Because this one, like literally had me wondering about a lot of things in the world. I'm assuming everyone's read The Alchemist. Never assume anything, but in The Alchemist, the wind, right? I had just finished walking a lot, and I'm sitting down by the water, and my foot hurt, and it was still. The water was still there. It was glass, and there was no wind. And I'm sitting there and I start viewing. Must have been about 5 minutes of viewing. I wanted the pain to go away. I wanted to establish equilibrium. I was just sitting there. It was beautiful. And I finished viewing and I went to gratitude. And the wind came. This was okay. This was like fairy tale-ish. The wind came out of nowhere. Zoom, zoom, zoom. The water started coming in like this. It was physical. And I'm thinking, okay, all right, this is real. And this is a response to what I was doing. I believe I'm in communication with the wind. I'm in communication with the trees. I'm in communication with the water. And I really firmly believe that, as much as it's like somebody who's skeptical can say, oh, this one's all loony out here, Om Shanti or whatever, but for me, it was an experience like in The Alchemist.
Wow. Wonderful.
And,
Yeah.
you nailed it with we are literally all part of the elementals, the fire, wind, the water, and the earth. So whether it doesn't matter whether it's the salamanders or the gnomes, everything is one. It's a hologram. And we make this is pure truth. And we make the mistake of seeing things as parts, like there's me, but then there's the fire and the sound. No, it's all blended. See it as a blend. That's the way. And our energy is blended with that. So I have been able to, like kind of like you were experiencing, I've been able to work with the undines in the rain. And have I run into, I can make it rain or stop raining, but
Absolutely.
have I run into thousands of people who have that power? Yes. I run into some shamans, Native American shamans. And I said, can you make it rain? And he goes, Mike, that's 101. Give me a real challenge. You've
Yeah.
been working on it for 40 years already.
But
So,
you know, everything's
yeah.
part of Holy Spirit.
Yep.
Okay. And
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
when we're hewing, you're connecting with the highest part of you and the ethers and Holy Spirit. So, because that's a sacred name for God, as mentioned with the word human,
Mhm.
human, God, man, humanity, etc., etc.
Mm.
So you being way tapped in, Ellie, as you know, when you're hewing, you're literally having this ongoing dialogue with spirit
Mhm.
and this interaction that's represented in the water and the wind. And sacredly, God is known as the ocean of love and mercy. So the ocean, you've got the water, right? You've got the water right there, girl. And then the wind, it comes, that's in the ancient texts and in the Bibles and what, mentioning the wind came, through the trees and so you had, all the elementals going on, as you and Michael mentioned, and just this oneness. So yeah, just an extension of, and everything's quantum and atoms and subatomic. So
Mhm.
hey, just a different rate and frequency, and you tap
Mhm.
into that.
And to address your original question too, it kind of caught my attention. Interesting indeed, because if someone says it, yeah, I didn't notice anything, it didn't work for me. It's not really their expectations, because I've given it to professional sports, I mean superstars, and they had no expectations basically, and I said, hey, don't knock it till you try it, bro. And they're pro sports people. They went, fair enough, sounds like the coach. And they tried it and it changed their game. And even the coach
Mhm.
of the Lakers started hewing because their game had changed. He said, what are you
Mhm. Mhm.
doing? But what it is if you're not awake enough or aware enough, like to pay attention
To the subtleties.
the
That's,
subtlety,
yeah. Mhm.
yeah, it's going to change everything immediately, but you have to at least be aware of the subtle changes and the vibration changes they come in, because it's subtle so as to not knock us off balance.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it comes in as something very harmonious and very neutral. And unless you're working with the elementals like the wind sylphs, which are known as, they are very ornery, but they are very loving too. They whipped up the wind for you. I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So the people, and I always say to any client, if they don't have an experience
Mhm.
or receive a benefit, I say, well, give it another shot, because I know that something's always going on, because we've tested it, as you know, through the
Mhm.
oximeter and through the EEGs, and so there's always change. So
Mhm.
it is a matter of noticing the change. If we can
Mhm.
record the change and there's always a change, then it's just a matter of not noticing the change. And so maybe they did it like, Hugh, okay, we would ask these types of questions. Did you do it like once? Did you do it long enough? Did you give it a real
Mhm.
a real
Mhm. Right.
you know
Right.
um,
I
test?
agree. Mhm.
And did you breathe? It really helps to breathe before we hew, like maybe 3 or 4 deep breaths.
Mhm.
And the SEALs in the military, they're about as serious as you can get. They go into combat on secret missions and dark forces. They always breathe because it shuts the mind down, so you can hear the hue and you'll suddenly be aware of the shift and changes that are occurring. So it helps to breathe before you
Yeah.
hue.
And there's, you've had your wide, vast experiences with this, but again, it's for anyone, it could just be as subtle as, I don't feel as stressed.
Mhm.
That's right.
I
That's right.
don't have as much anxiety.
Mhm. I totally agree. Mhm.
Yeah, an answer came in, and it's like they don't even realize that was because they tapped into the hue vibration,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
all of a sudden they had a solution that appeared.
Mhm. Mhm. Agree.
Especially
Mhm.
while vacuuming, Ellie, I'm like, because you can think it, like for Ginger that does her swimming, the hue can be just thinking it, not out
Mhm.
loud,
Mhm.
silent, no open mouth, no closed eyes, just
Think
thinking
it.
the hue.
You-
And so while I was vacuuming, all I did is think that word hue, and within 2 seconds, you know, the universe, source, higher self, whatever word we're familiar or comfortable with in our belief system. It was like, Nicole, you need to cancel that appointment. Nicole, you need to schedule that appointment. It all downloaded within 5 seconds of thinking of the word hue. All of a sudden, my higher self, and it was like, do this, you forgot to do this, you need to do that. And so I would, you know, if we were talking to your people and like asking them like, well, you know, a wider variety of these things that have happened, they're probably going, oh my God, that did happen. Or they missed it because they didn't realize that was from you.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And even I'm not smoking as much. I mean, you name it, and the results have all types of things. So
yeah, beautiful.
I have one more thing, Ellie. You just reminded me, and this is part of what you're talking about. Like we forget, like things will happen and we're not paying attention. And so we think nothing's happening, but 2 more things happened that I already forgot about.
No.
When I was on the beach, the same thing happened. I remember the wind started kicking up the sand and everything, and I felt like this is the universal tone. Like I just felt like this, I'm speaking to the universe. Like I felt the palm trees, everything was rustling. It was really quick and then it calmed back down and I was in it and then I went back to sleep. You know, we wake up and then we go back to sleep. And you just reminded me about it because that did happen. Because I was like, did I dream that? Because when you're telling your story, I was like, that really happened. The other thing that happened, I needed to drive to Orange County, which is about 45 minutes, and I put my nav, and it was gonna take me 15 minutes longer, and I was gonna be late for a half-hour appointment with a functional medicine doc, and she charges me $250 for the half hour. So I was already gonna be, I was already like counting the money, like, okay, there's 15 minutes down. So I got in the car, and I know I'm gonna be late. It's Orange County morning traffic, and I had woken up late, and I said, I'm just gonna start hewing. Anyway, I cut the 15 minutes. I walked in the door at 9 a.m. sharp. Like there was no way I should have cut 15 minutes off of a 45-minute commute. That's unheard of down here. So I just remember that story. Sorry, I forgot to tell you that.
No, that's awesome.
But we forget, I guess what my point is, and what I'm realizing, it's the subtle awareness. Like you got to be, I got to be more aware of what's going on.
Nice stuff, Ginger. Yeah, we lived in LA for a while, so we know about that traffic. And you actually went through a time warp, is what happened.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah,
I felt like that, and I was hewing, so I was like, there was an expectation in a weird sort of way that I was going to get there. Like I already, and so when I think part of why I forgot it worked is because I start hewing and then there's this expectation in my bones, in my cells. It's really weird.
Wow. We just don't have language for it. It's just the experience of it. It's beautiful, Ginger. Really beautiful. Wow.
That's a great technique. Thanks for sharing that story, Ginger. It reminded me of, I've been using it for years. I don't know, maybe 20, 30 years. And I use it to expand and contract time. And it always works. When I'm hewing, if I need, like you said, maybe I'm running late and I start hewing and then I get there on time. And when I look back, it would have been physically impossible, but somehow the hue expanded time to allow me to do that because of the vibration and the interlocking mechanics with and how it works at a quantum physics level. Hue does that. So that's that story is a great reminder that we have that power to expand or contract time with the hue. That's great. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I think we can wrap it up a little bit. If you want to share some things, you're up to some big things, and by all means, please go share.
Thanks, Ellie. Thanks. Yes, we just launched our mystery school here. This is 30 years in the making. So it's a Divine Guidance Institute. So it's not about another path. or another guru. It's about rebooting one's original operating system with it of how, and it's the path of knowingness. That's what we're teaching. That 24/7 divine guidance connection for knowing, pure knowing, whether it's, you know, is my deceased grandmother in heaven? Is she okay? You know, is my spouse cheating? And do I need to move to Texas? I mean, this, you know, anything that someone's wondering about, you know, we have found through our research and experience that the divine guidance is on autopilot 24/7. All humans experience dreams, signs, and intuitions daily, whether, you know, whether they remember, recall, or aware of it. It's a 24/7 process. And so we've, you know, we've distilled it down into our proprietary systems of knowingness with one magic word and the ancient way of knowing. And so, you know, just using the tools, the Holy Spirit tools, the universal tools, you know, and using them in such a way of a methodology to take people through a liminal transformation, literally. You know, the shift begins on day one, and then you know, gradual and gentle through to a liminal transformation. It's a 1-year program anyway. So we just launched DGI. So exciting. And then we even did a special promo for your clients, as you know.
I'm gonna put that link in the at the bottom of the YouTube videos for anybody who's watching this now and in the future. Okay.
Right on. And then we've also got a special for the one magic word signature course that I'll give you a link for that too. And special price for your people. So so yeah, we've got, this is just the shortcuts. If we can distill it down, we will. And that's what we've done for all of our people. Distill it down so it happens in an instant, you know?
Yeah. Awesome. Yes, I will put those links at the bottom of the YouTube video. And that's awesome. It's exciting. So again, I thank you for being here with us today. And for those people in the future that are watching and you know where to reach all of us. And again, thank you, Susan. Thank you, Ginger, for being live on the call. And thank you, Dr. Nick and Professor Mike, for being here with me today and all of us. All right. Thank you so much.
That was fun.
All righty.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.